the regular council meeting, the Village of Cache Creek, April the 7th, 2025. There was a declaration came along that I signed declaring graffiti days, cherished tradition in our community for 38 years, and on it goes. I therefore do hereby declare the 38th Annual Graffiti Days Classic Car Weekend occurring on September 12th, 13th, 14th, an event of municipal importance. I encourage all residents and visitors to participate in the celebration, to support our local businesses, and to join us in commemorating the 38th year of the Cache Creek Graffiti Days. On to audited financial statements. We have Mario Parati here, who is getting a little bit tired of talking by now, but welcome, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Never tired of talking about numbers. So we are here today to present the audited financial statements of the Village of Cache Creek for the year ended December 31st, 2024. While we wait for it to come on screen, we do have the full financial statements in your council package. However, I have prepared a PowerPoint to go through it to make it easier to follow through, so we can see where everything is at.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. We'll try this again. There we go. So we will start on our independent auditor's report, and so these are the only pages that belong to BDO. The remainder of the financial statements are the property of the village and are prepared and approved by management. The statements in the agenda package were still marked draft because I cannot sign off on the audit until those charged with governance, which the community charter defines as mayor and council, have had a chance to review and approve the financial statements. If it is council's pleasure to approve the statements, we will be signing off the audit today, and we will issue a clean audit opinion. So these statements do present fairly the results of the village for the year ended December 31st, 2024. And so when we look at the results, on the surface, we see a large jump in your financial assets, in particular your cash and investments, but also your accounts receivable. Jump from 7.2 million to 8.4 million, which we're going to talk about in a few pages, but it's important to understand that this is money that has already been earmarked to be spent on capital projects, and we'll show how that flows in a couple of slides. Your liabilities did decrease from 1.4 million to 1.2 million. A couple of items that happened in there. There was a lot of construction in progress at the end of last year, so the accounts payable were hanging out still unpaid at the end of the year. And also there was some unspent grant money that was executed on this year, UBCM grants, Material Health, and some other small capital grants, which drew down the overall deferred revenue position. And we'll talk about tangible capital assets in a couple slides when we talk about the surplus. But as we can see, an increase from 15 million up to 16.4, it was a big capital year for you. Now, when we look at the revenue comparison of budget to actuals, total revenue came in at 6.2 million versus a budget of 7.5 million, and last year you were at 6 million. Now, you can see that the government transfers or your grants the budget was 4.7 million. It's off the charts on here. It actually came in at about $2.7 million. And the reason why we had that variance is, again, not all the capital projects came forward, not all the grants was produced. So while we're short on the government transfers, we're going to be short on the capital projects as well. And when we look at the next slide, just reminding you of the breakdown when we talk about that over $6 million in revenues, where everything comes in. A quarter of it goes to property taxes. A much larger portion goes to government transfers and grants that is there. When we look at your expenses and how you did, total expenses came in at 3.3 million, down from 3.7 last year and short of budget from 4.6 million. And we can see under general administrative services, transportation, and government health services, all significantly underspent. And that is, of course, and also with transportation and protective, it's all because the anticipation of what could have been more emergency work that had to be done this year for 2024, which didn't happen. So that, you know, the budget was there ready to be spent, but it didn't have to be executed on. Also showing why we're down from 2023 as well. So that is a good news story in multiple ways when we talk about expenses being that low. Now, when we get to bring it all together, we look at our annual surplus. Annual surplus for accounting purposes came in at 2.9 million versus a budget of 2.8 million and 2.3 last year. This is where I get to remind you that when you budget according to what the community charter requires. When we present statements, it's what the Public Sector Accounting Board says we have to do, and the two don't talk. So this slide hopes to show you how you did actually against your budget. So if we take our annual surplus and we deduct our acquisition of capital assets, so our capital projects for the year, we can see that we budgeted $3.6 million spend and we came in at 2.1 million. Now remember when we talked about that we were short on grants? This is where we're short on the expenses as well. If we add back amortization, we get to surplus before transfers of $1.5 million, and you had budgeted a deficit of $204,000. So when you had budgeted that $3.6 million capital spend, you had planned to pull $200,000 out of reserves. With us coming in, and not having all the capital being executed this year, we have this $1.5 million surplus. We put $322,000 to reserves, and we're left with $1.2 million as a surplus for the year that really aligns with what you did in your budget. Now, when I talked about that you have more money in the bank or more money coming in, remember, that money has already been spent, or is ready to be spent, because that's going to fund the capital that you're going to be doing this year. So it's really a timing thing where we saw that increase there this year. So important to have context, because otherwise people will ask, well, why $1.2 million surplus? Because we haven't had enough time to spend it yet, but it's on the books to be go through. And so the last item before I open it up for questions talks about your accumulated surplus. And again, I wanted to put some context on it. You have $23.8 million accumulated surplus. Last year you were at $20.8 million, which seems like a lot of money given that your overall revenue for the year is $6 million. But included in that number is what we call invested intangible capital assets. $14.5 million last year, $15.9 million this year, up 1.4. That number represents what you've spent historically, less anything that you owe on your capital projects. And so that 15.9, almost $16 million isn't money that can be spent. So if we take that out, we're really only left with about $7.7 million in surplus. And when we look, your general fund is sitting at 2.7 million, and we just talked about on the last slide that there's already 1.2 million of capital projects that didn't finish this year that are going to go forward this year. So once we take that out, you're down to 1.4 million as what's left in the general fund for management to execute on this year's budget for. So it looks a lot more reasonable when you understand the context there. And then the reserves that we have, this is money that's been set aside by council. Landfill Legacy Reserve remained unchanged this year. Some additional funding went into the general reserve, came into 680,000. Growing Communities Fund, I'll just highlight, that was money that the province released last year that can be spent on various projects. It went up this year only because that money is being invested currently. And so that is the investment income on that reserve fund. So even though it's not spent, the money is being put to work and will be spent in the future. And Housing Capacity Reserve, another grant that the province gave this year that had to be recognized as revenue that's unspent. There's $148,000 to be spent on housing initiatives going forward. But overall, when we look at the results this year, we saw that increase in the financial position. When you see that large of an increase, in a community this size, a lot of times that'll send off alarm bells. But to you, it's just understanding the timing of the capital projects and all the work that's being done. And it's going to be a few years of heavier capital coming in. So don't be scared about that. That money is there for a properties, and management has been investing it so that it's not sitting and not earning any interest on it, so. I will stop there and open it up for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Parati? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Peters?
I don't see anywhere on our agenda to adopt the financial statements.
Business structure and foundations? No.
Yeah, it's supposed to be there, but
Yeah.
it is not, so.
Would you like to move?
I will move that we accept the audited financial statements as for 2024 as presented.
Any discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Good catch, Councillor Peters.
Thank you for that, because I needed to see that motion as well.
It's all good.
Okay, thank you, always a pleasure. If there's questions that come up in the year, feel free to reach out to me through the management team. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
I see.
On to the minutes of the March 17th regular meeting. Could I have a motion to adopt as circulated?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried, thank you. And the March 24th special council meeting,
So moved?
Second.
all those in favor, opposed, carried, thank you. Business arising from the delegations, that's where
Oh,
you
I
could
guess
have put
where it
that.
should have been.
Business arising from the minutes, anybody? Seeing none, committee reports, economic development, Councillor Dubois,
Nothing at this time?
thank you. Budget and administrative services, I don't have anything to report at this time either. Bylaw and policy review, Councillor Ranta,
Just to let everyone know, we are scheduled to have a meeting on April 8th, no,
28th.
28th, yes, 28th of April, from 9 till noon.
thank you. Bylaw and policy review, Councillor Ranta, oh, that was that. Public Works, Councillor Liebert,
Nothing new to report at this time.
thank you. Healthcare and Protective Services, Councillor Ranta.
Nothing new.
Emergency Management, Councillor Peters.
Nothing new, still monitoring snowpacks, and hoping for the best.
See the creeks are.
Yeah, they're up a little bit,
It's a little muddy today.
and, but not something that's causing us anxiety yet.
Not even close.
Parks and Recreation, Councillor Ranta,
Nothing to report.
thank you. Landfill Advisory Committee, there was a landfill monitoring committee meeting scheduled for this week, I think it was, which was canceled. And it's been rescheduled for May 29th, so I'll attend that. The other thing, based on, well, maybe we should go through the post-closure cost care statement for period ending February 28th. Could I have a motion to receive and file?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried. The other thing that I had a conversation with a community member about landfill revenue, and they were unaware that we provide a portion of the landfill revenue to the village of Ashcroft. And they rather felt that nobody else was aware of that either. I'm aware of it certainly, but what I would appreciate and what I would move is that staff provide an outline, say for the last 3 years, of how much revenue has been transferred to the village of Ashcroft from our landfill revenue. Is there a seconder?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. TNRD and Intergovernmental Liaison. There was a TNRD meeting. They provided us with a summary of the tax by service that the village of Cache Creek pays. And these are the amounts we pay, and the big line at the top is solid waste management. Of our total of $64.28, that amounts to a little over half, $35.34 for solid waste management. And then library, general government services, and then E911, and then a bunch of other things: emergency preparedness, zoning and planning, film commission, search and rescue, crime stoppers, regional parks, and Fraser Basin Council, which go from $1.26 per thousand of assessed value down to 5 cents for Fraser Basin. So that's where the village of Cache Creek pays for their TNRD benefit, arguably, if there's a benefit.
Mayor Renta,
Yes?
can I request that we include those figures into the minutes of the council meeting?
Sure you can.
Thank you.
I'll make a copy of this and give it to Damien. How about that?
Yeah.
Then I wanted to also mention that when it comes to, where are we? Page 168 won't do. I'm looking for page 108. It's just not there, is it? Oh, it must be over here. There you go, page 108. The net tax requisition by municipality, the village of Cache Creek, our net tax requisition for 2025 is up 4.18% over 2024 to $154,464. And
Can you repeat that number again, please? 150.
I have the numbers.
Oh, you
154,464.
Yep.
Up 4.18%. And there are many of the municipalities like Kamloops, Merritt, Barrier, Clearwater, Logan Lake, Mountain, Sun Peaks, and Ashcroft that are up more than that. And there's only one that's less than that, and that is the village of Chase at 1.69%. But all the rest of the municipalities in the TNRD are up a higher percentage than the 4.18. So I thought you might find that interesting. Anyway, there you go. That's, here ends my TNRD report. Happy to answer any questions. Cache Creek Community Fund, Councillor Dubois.
Yes, I'd like to recommend that council direct staff to advise the BOSS Enrichment Center on the process of applying to the Cache Creek Community Fund.
Second.
Any discussion? Councillor Renta.
Well, just having reviewed the letter, I have a few questions, and I also wonder if staff know how many Cache Creek organizations have been informed about applying for the Cache Creek Community Fund?
As far as Cache Creek organizations, we haven't, when it was first created, we sent out information, but we haven't directly interacted with anyone. The reason why staff gave this recommendation is because it's the first time that they've made a request, and the request, as far as the request goes, it kind of falls within the current guidelines, so it seemed to make sense.
Okay, well, just given the fact that we haven't really initiated communication with the local Cache Creek based programs and volunteer groups and things like that, I think I'm gonna be voting against the recommendation just because it's kind of unfair to our own groups to to not have the communication happen to all of the groups at the same time instead of just the one that's asking for the money.
Well, they're not only asking for money, they're asking for support and whatnot as well. I frankly may be living under a mushroom, but I've never heard of this BOSS Enrichment Center, and so I'm somewhat reluctant to support their initiative of back to school backpack program. And I also will be voting against the recommendation. I think what I would prefer to see is a motion to receive and file the letter, and that's basically it. Councillor Dubois.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this organization. They've been in operation for approximately 2 years. They've had a number of people that have gone through and developed. It's a very good organization in terms of developing young entrepreneurs. I'd like to make a note that the backpacks will be distributed in the Cache Creek School, so it will be for Cache Creek residents. So this is really what I think as part of the application form I would be looking for from the organization, is to highlight what the benefit is going to be to Cache Creek residents, and from there that we could vote on the application as it comes into us.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion?
Well,
Councillor
I'd
Rand.
like to make an amendment to the motion that the council directs staff to advise the BOSS Enrichment Center on the process of applying to the Cache Creek Community Fund, and that volunteer organizations and societies in Cache Creek also be informed at the same time of their opportunity to apply to the fund.
On the amendment to the motion, is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the amendment? Councillor Peters.
I think that, while I don't disagree with Councillor Ranta that we should put it out to the community, this is not saying we're going to give them the money. This is just saying that we are going to give them the application, which will then still come back to council to be approved. So while I would like to see the information go out to other nonprofits and groups in the area, I don't believe it has a bearing on the motion that's on the table.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amendment? Councillor Ranta?
I'm making the amendment because we haven't really, like it would be difficult to evaluate if this group should get the money or not if nobody else has applied in ever before. So, and I think that's the case, that we haven't as a council or a village, inform the community that this fund exists. So how are we going to evaluate if this group should or shouldn't get the money if we've never told anybody else about the money? It'd be pretty hard to say no, or we wouldn't really have comparisons to say maybe everybody should get the money. But I just think it would be more fair to our local Cache Creek groups whose dollars went into the fund to create the fund, if they knew about the fund at the same time. I'm not saying yes or no to this organization by making the amendment. I'm just trying to say that that if we're going to utilize the fund that way, that it would be more fair to our local taxpayers to inform them of the opportunity to apply for the fund at the same time. And I realize that this isn't a yes or no, because I am obviously going to hopefully support the amendment and hopefully support the amended motion. This makes it just a little bit easier to sort of see the fund in action, which we have never done before. We've never seen the fund in action.
Councillor Peters.
I would respectfully disagree. I was part of the committee that was with Ms. Cooper, that she and I were the ones that put this together, and that there was publicity when the fund was first created.
That
So it's
nobody
not-
paid attention to otherwise.
It's not that
yeah.
it's never been put out there.
Right.
It hasn't been put out in recent years, but it has been put out there.
Thank you. On the amendment then, to advise other community organizations that such a fund exists and that they're welcome to apply for funding from it. Any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor on the amendment? Opposed? That carries. The amendment carries. On the motion as amended, any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you.
So one second, who opposed for the original motion?
Not the original motion, the amendment.
Yeah.
The amendment, it was David and Sue opposed.
I got it on the screen.
Oh, okay. But the original motion?
And the original motion,
There's no,
Oh.
there's
Yeah.
the original motion, the amendment is just at the end here. There was 2 opposed, but it was carried, and then for the whole motion, like the amended motion, it was carried unanimously.
Oh, okay. That's part of it.
Sorry.
thank you. Then on to, I think, staff reports next. Buoyant Alert System Review. I would move that council receive and file a report from CAO Couture regarding the Buoyant Alert System.
Second.
Any discussion? Councillor Dubois?
I'd just like to comment that I think that the Buoyant Alert system is really quite useful. I think it's interesting to see the data that we have here and who is using it and how they're accessing it. And I think that it highlights that there is the opportunity for those, even if they're not connected over cell phones, or if they're not online or anything like that, they still have the opportunity to come in, ask the staff to help them, and they'll be able to get it set up to their landline. So I think it's a really good service, and I think it's something that I'm glad we are able to take advantage of.
Thank you. Councillor Peters?
Was it in the last newsletter?
We've been putting it in every
Everyone.
newsletter.
And I would encourage people that, we do have a lot of people that aren't tech savvy, that there is the opportunity to receive it by phone. And I don't know that a lot of people are aware of that,
Yeah, I think it's 18, it
Yeah.
says in there.
but,
Thank you.
I would suggest when people come in to pay utility and tax bills, that the staff asks them if they've signed up and explain it to them. Because the more people we can get on it, the better it is.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Information correspondence. Letter from Ravi Kalon and a letter from Channer Truck Repairs. Is there any action required on either of the incoming correspondence?
Move to receive and file.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And there's no outgoing correspondence, so we don't need that. Any new business? Seeing none, questions from the public? You're the only one.
No, thank you.
Questions from the press?
Nothing today.
Thank you. We have need of a closed session pursuant to section 90.1 and 90.2 of the community charter. I would ask for a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Brief break.